Okay, hopefully I'm recording. I think I am. Thank goodness we are not being graded on technology use because this has been a little challenging for me, but I chose to do our assignment using Twitter, and I think I finally figured it out. So what I chose to do was do one tweet that explains the neuro fact that I learned this semester, and then a second tweet to kind of talk about why it was important to me. And then I also embedded the resources, the references. So those are in there too. But anyway, number one, let's get to it. The Brain Initiative. So that was one of the first things we learned, and it was so cool. So the Brain Initiative uses the latest neural technologies to map circuits of the human brain and has led to further understanding and potential therapies for psychiatric disorders such as autism and Alzheimer's. So today, further technological advances on neuroimaging and neural data is just booming, and recent funding will be used to analyze data, and new therapies for healing the human brain could come as early as 2022. Let's hope. Okay, so number two, the Human Brain Project in Europe uses cutting-edge research in neuroscience. A report just this week detailed that researchers have designed an artificial cerebellum that can control a robot. Not only does it contain neural networks, but it is adaptive and remembers. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, but here's the robot and holding the cerebellum. How cool is that? So scientific research like this allows for further advances in brain-related therapies and medications. Number three, the Allen Institute for Brain Science. It's, wow, that was one of the early ones that we talked about too. It's increasing collaboration and speeding up research through open source neuroscience data. The combination of working with various entities also helps to see a bigger picture and encompass ideas from a broader set of individuals. So we talked a lot about open source data, and when you do that, you get opinions, and it's almost like crowdsourcing. You get a lot of information from a lot of different people. A lot of minds working on the same thing can maybe come up with something that one mind could not on its own. And a new study at the Allen Institute traced the 3D shape of over 1,700 complete mouse neurons across the brain. The identification of individual neurons' axons connections will be molecularly linked to similar neurons in the human brain. So that's pretty cool. Number four, the International Brain Lab. Again, that was another one we talked about that offered open source data. It is a leader in global collaboration using an open source model of neuroscience research. So across 7 laboratories in 3 countries, 140 mice were trained and proved that reproducible learning behavior could be achieved in different labs. So this is huge. Reproducibility is essential in science. And this is a huge development for the continued use and to be able to rely on open source data sharing. Number 5, neuropixels. Neuropixel probes are next-gen electrodes that record neuronal activity in the brain. Scientists developed a stable mini probe, NeuroPixels 2.0, that records the individual neurons' waveforms activity in active mice. They measure how the activity develops as the mouse is learning. And this is important because we need to understand how the neurons are responding to learning and memory, because that's crucial to understanding neuroplasticity. Number 6, CRISPR, super cool too. So in CRISPR, RNA guides are used to bind to the Cas9 proteins to modify either a specific gene or a sequence of genes. This method is faster, easier, cheaper, and it enables possibilities for advanced progress in neuroscience therapies for genetic disorders such as Huntington's disease and spinal muscular dystrophy. Number Number 7, optogenetics. Optogenetics allows scientists to control the signaling of neurons using light. This was so cool. So a light-sensitive ion channel rhodopsin, produced by an algae, is inserted into the neurons. And this gives scientists complete control over their neurons on, if they want it to fire, if they want it to have an action potential, then they simply shine the light on the neurons. Scientists can study how turning on and off specific neurons affects the brain's function and its behavior. And it's useful to study for movement disorders such as Parkinson's disease. Number 8. Programming languages. Oh my goodness, this was my Achilles heel. Specifically, I had a really hard time with learning Python and R and everything, but I'm going to work on it. Programming languages for simulations are critical in neuroscience. Early simulations were actually done by the neuroscientists using hand calculations, which may have ended up with some errors in calculations. So precise calculations are critical for sure. Python is a popular computer program due to its multi-purpose functions, which also includes data analysis. Oh, and of course it's free because it's open source. Number 9, sheep brains. We learned it are more like humans than rodents. And recently some neuroscientists proposed sheep for in vivo brain function research in their natural settings. So electrodes would be placed on the brain and it would record activity while the sheep are moving around. The use of sheep could lead to better data for brain disease. Better data means faster treatments for those with Huntington's, for example. And the finale, number 10. This was, I don't know, I just thought this was so interesting. It was, we spoke about language and why humans were kind of the only species that used it. And it's because it's only needed to express abstract thought, and humans are the only species that think in an abstract kind of way. So like you can tell a dog to sit or stay, but you can't tell the dog, hey, let's just hang out here for a little while. And it does appear to be an evolutionary adaptation. So that's my top 10 things. I hope you enjoyed it and can't wait to see yours.